I don't know if you guys played that one.
Oh, man, yeah, that was awesome.
That was another game that
where
was
you play
so
as
cool.
Wolverine?
You can
And
choose
Cyclops.
like Cyclops, and you can even play as Gambit, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, the name is escaping me. The only thing that's popping in my head is his profile.
His profile, and you're like, yep, that's Kratos for sure.
Yeah.
All right, Russ. Whoa, Carrie, you're huge.
Yeah, I know. I don't know why I'm so huge.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the NerdNest podcast. I think we're on episode 131 at this point. I can't believe that you guys have hung out with me for 131 times. And by you guys, I'm talking about my very good friends, Russ Crandall. What's going on, Russ?
Hey, I can't believe it's been 131 episodes as well. I mean, it's been years at this point, right? It's just kind of crazy. Anyway, I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. How was CES?
It was good. It was busy, but not a lot of product announcements and stuff. It was mostly kind of more just me wandering around and looking at new stuff that I usually wouldn't have time to see because nobody had any interesting handhelds. So yeah, it was a fun time.
And the other guy on the show right now is Carrie. What's going on, Carrie?
Hey, this is one of the. I like that the time slot that we're doing this now, and it's kind of bookending and a good place for me. And it's a nice way to start the weekend, and I enjoy talking to you guys. So generally, this makes me happy to attend and participate.
I'm not going to lie. I've been looking forward to this all day long. Like, I love talking to you guys about the industry and just having a conversation, wrapping things up every Friday. It's Friday for us. It's just so much fun. And we have a lot of stuff that we're going to talk about on today's episode. Tons and tons of news. Honestly, I'm looking at the show notes. It's impossible that we'll get through all this, but we're going to start right now and see how much we can get done. And I saw this story over at Gaming on Linux. And if you haven't if you haven't gone to that website and bookmarked it, you got to do that right now. It's a really great website. Liam does a great job. But he's got this. He found this information from the Steamworks page, which is basically Valve's way of communicating to developers, like all of the things that they would like you to do, you as in the developer. And there's one piece of information here that I thought was really interesting. Here's what it actually says, and then we'll talk about what it means. Over on the Steamworks page, it says, "We think customers are better off if a developer can focus on the one best version of their game rather than making and maintaining many separate builds, especially if one build ends up being a second-class experience, missing some testing or updates. We spent a lot of effort making it as easy as possible to run that best version on Steam Frame." This is talking about their new VR headset that's coming. "For most developers, that probably means running Windows 86 via Proton and FX." And then they say for VR developers, people who are already making VR games, it says that they have already spent the effort to make a mobile optimized version of I said that wrong. For VR developers that have already made a mobile optimized version of their game for other hardware, typically Android or ARM64, we think it makes sense to run that version on Steam Frame. Steam Frame natively runs the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 ARM64 chip on SteamOS that includes a range of compatibility layers for other operating systems and architectures. So basically what they're saying here is, listen, instead of making a bunch of different versions of your game, just make the one that you think is going to be the best version, and we are going to handle all of the translation stuff in the background so that you, the developers, don't have to do that. And I think that this is kind of what Valve has done with the Steam Deck and Proton, where they said, when they first launched the Steam Machine, 10 years ago, a decade ago, they expected developers to translate all their games over to Linux. The developers said, screw you, we're not doing that. It's way too much work, and it's far too small a population for us to spend the developer hours and resources to do that. So they just ignored it, and that's why it fell on its face. Fast forward to today, Steam Deck comes out, Proton's there, developers don't have to do anything. And this is yet another example of Valve doing all of the work for developers so that developers can just focus on what they want to do. And that's making one version of their game that's awesome. Russ, what do you think about this? Do you agree that, not agree, do you feel like, I feel like there's a lot of people that will look at this and say, but it would be better if they made a native version instead of using the translation layers. How do you feel about that?
I think, sure, as an end user, it'd be great to have a native version that just works on whatever platform I'm using and that it's in complete sync with all the other ones. But from a development standpoint, I kind of love this approach where they're just like, hey, make the best game possible. Use one of these different alternatives, either via Windows or via Android if you're going to be, already have been working on that. And we'll do the rest. And I think it shows a lot that they are saying, we're going to invest in this translation layer technology in the future and now. Just make your game. And I don't know. I don't think of a lot of other companies, Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo, being like, yeah, just make your game. We'll take care of the rest. Like, it doesn't really seem like the approach that I would get from the other console makers. And so I love this idea. I like the idea of, I think it removes barriers for the developer, which means that it's just going to be, time focused on the things that really matter in a game, which is like making it good as opposed to making it run.
Yeah, I remember I was doing benchmarks for something. I can't remember what it was. And I was doing a bunch of different games and seeing how they ran on both Windows and on Linux. And when I did that, somebody because I used Shadow of the Tomb Raider as one of the games that I benchmarked. And it, like, one of the comments was, by the way, there's a native Linux version of Shadow of the Tomb Raider. You should have benchmarked that one instead. And I didn't even know about that. And there's nothing in the store page or like in the launcher that says, hey, this can be a native Linux version if you want. I mean, it's easy to switch it over if you want to, but I didn't know about it. Carrie, do you think it's better to have the devs specifically write a Linux or an ARM version, or do you think it's fine for them to do this translation layer stuff through Proton and Fex?
I do think that the method that Valve is doing is the correct course of action because they already fell on their face, like you had noted earlier with the Steam Machine. So this is kind of like a if they build it, they will come sort of thing. And if you take a look at what like Larian did with Baldur's Gate 3, they made a Steam Deck version of Baldur's Gate 3 that ran considerably better. So there is a threshold, right, of once something gets good enough, all of a sudden the developer, and especially the developer, likes it. Now they're doing it not because the company wants them, but because they actually have a personal vendetta to get it done. So there are going to be benefits to specifically for ARM to make a native version of that rather than doing the translation layer route. But the translation layer route is the most optimal because it is going to give a foundation of being able to play all these games. And that's not just x86, right? They're also doing Lepton, which is Android. So it's already ARM. And, you have all the stuff for Quest. So not the proprietary stuff, obviously, but anything that underlying that will just work should just work.
I think what's exciting to me is exactly what you said in that, the work on the translation layer. I mean, it's great to have a native version, right? But work on the translation layer is going to benefit everybody. And that's what's exciting to me is like maybe the developer never gets around to actually building a port, that would optimize the game for that particular platform. But translation gets so good that it doesn't matter. Like that's what's exciting to me, especially in the world of like emulation and whatnot too. So that's what kind of is keeping me to this like thought of, let Valve do all this work and make that really great.
I don't know have you guys, sorry to interject, we're still talking about Fex and stuff, but have you guys seen the talk that the Fex one of the Fex developers gave on 3NC3?
What's 3NC3?
It's like a conference where they were just talking about it.
No, I didn't see that.
it's a fascinating video, and I was linked to it after I had dug into it a little because I was going to be making a video on why Steam Deck 2 won't be ARM. But it's fascinating to me because that whole stack of what they've done, it goes further than I thought it did, because all of like, we understand, right, that on ARM and the translation layer for x86, it's not as transparent as just Proton is for x86, right? We're just doing API calls, and for ARM, we're actually doing whole architecture emulation.
Emulation, right?
Yeah,
real emulation.
But one of the things that actually happens in Proton for ARM is that they are using Windows EC libraries for ARM. So effectively, these are native Windows libraries built for ARM that are actually running. This is not Windows x86 libraries that are being translated. It's actually ARM native libraries that are running. So there's actually not as much emulation going on that I thought before. So there is a fascinating amount. It's fairly optimal insofar as what their stack is. So it's very interesting. But yeah, it's some cool stuff.
And is that stuff, that Windows ARM APIs, are those aren't the ones that they're not made by the people who are making FEX. That's made by Windows for running ARM. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, they're leveraging those EC libraries. There's like a library, these Windows libraries. They're called EC. It's like an emulation cache or something. They're basically certain extensions that are only for this particular thing, that are like pre-built, compiled things for this facility. It's not like a direct native replacement, but it is enough as a shim to act as one.
Kind of like Rosetta on Mac.
Yes. Yeah. So like you have the idea. So when you take a look at the stack, it's not all that bad. It's not all that bad. The biggest problem that we have is that the GPU isn't that great. Like, when we have other GPU, like most of the gaming, for all gaming that we care about is, well, not all gaming, 2D games are going to leverage the CPU a bunch, and ARM is just going to be fantastic, especially low power. But as soon as you start engaging the GPU, it's going to start chugging power, and it is not as performant as some of the other GPUs. And especially as we start getting newer GPUs, it's going to get left in the dust pretty fast. And we don't have any evidence so far that Valve is purposely building chips for anything that they're making. They keep on going to AMD and finding what they have available and then buying that, instead of saying, hey, we want specifically this chip. And then AMD's like, cool, pay $100 million to do that. And Valve's like, actually, no, we're going to take that Hawk Point 2 thing. We're going to take that GPU you got there. We're going to smash them together and call it a Steam machine. So I don't think that we're going to find an ARM chip that Valve is going to make and get the best GPU that AMD has and slap that onto an ARM thing and then have something compelling. I think we're just going to see whatever Snapdragon has and then hope for the best.
Oh yeah, I don't think Valve's not in the business of making chips and making RAM and stuff like that. They're in the business of buying that stuff and building a machine out of it.
That's it.
And that makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah. But again, this is like my whole thing of like why it won't happen, but like Steam Deck 2 for ARM. But there's a lot of things there that they're building that they get a lot of flexibility to just kind of go in any path that they want. And I think the one cool thing is the Lepton part of it. That part is like super cool. Like that's one that was like, everyone's thinking about the flat stuff. But then, I don't know if you guys saw the news just recently, is that Meta started like slashing and burning all of their VR studios.
Oh yeah, that's in the show notes, yeah.
Yeah, so Twisted Pixel and all those other guys. So all of these people have like, Android builds of things that could run on the Steam frame. It's one of those things. Someone posted like, Meta, closes all these studios. Valve does nothing. How do they keep getting away with it?
Yeah, you're not kidding. Well, you know what? Since you brought it up, we might as well talk about it real quick. And that is the like the Batman Studios. I saw this over on Blue Sky. There's this channel or this account that's Arkham Videos. I assume they're just making Batman Arkham videos, like that's their whole niche on YouTube or something. And they said, I'm hearing some really disheartening news that Camouflage, spelled terribly, the studio behind the Batman Arkham Shadow, which I've heard is really good. I've heard that game's awesome. I haven't played it because I don't have a VR headset other than the PlayStation one, and my son absconded with that. It said may have been completely laid off, including Ryan Payton and Matt Walker, despite reports saying otherwise. Heartbreaking if true. This team poured everything into that game. And then Zach, there's a reply to that says confirmed with Meta that the studio is, at least for now, not closing, but has suffered layoffs. So, I mean, who knows what's going on over there? But, I mean, I'm sure that Valve was sitting there and they see this news and they're like, that's awesome. Like all this, like that's our competition right there. And those companies that know how to make VR games, they're going to want to make VR games, and they're going to make VR games for our stuff. And they already know how to make ARM stuff. So if Meta's going to like kick all those guys to the curb, I'm sure that Valve will maybe start hiring some people that want to make some VR stuff. I think it makes sense, or at least they'll have a place to go to make games. It sucks that people are losing their jobs, though. I hate that. But to get back to what we were talking about before, I remember when the Steam Deck first came out, and people thought that we would get a lot more Linux development as a response to it, because hey, it's a video game thing from Valve. And it runs Linux. Maybe developers will start targeting Linux, which would lead to more Linux adoption, which would be one of those virtuous cycles that would like continually like get the snowball rolling. But that is not what's going to happen now. What's going to happen is Valve has basically said, don't bother, just keep making Windows games and we're going to do everything. And I think that that's it's counterintuitive. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that they were pushing for, I thought the same thing. When Steam Deck's coming out, I'm like, all right, this is the time for Linux gaming to shine. Again, I don't think it's a bad thing that they're just saying, make it on the platform you choose, and then, between Windows and Linux, and then we will take care of that Linux part if you do the Windows part. Again, just removing those barriers. I think it's great, but yeah, you're right in the whole like Linux gaming adoption rate, is maybe going to go there, but maybe Linux as an OS adoption rate will climb, as people use this more than other platforms. So, yeah,
we've seen nothing, but it's just been climbing like crazy since the Steam Deck came out. I think when the Steam Deck came out, it was at 2.1% or something, and now it's at 3.8%, or I can't remember the numbers, but it's gone up a lot since the Steam Deck came out. And before the Steam Deck came out, growth was flat for Linux gaming. So I just find that super. I find what Valve is doing to be super interesting and good for everybody. Most companies only do what's good for them.
Yeah, it's I've always been a fan of Valve. I think the direction that they're going, I really do hope either. I'm not sure which direction Meta is going to be going into, but it would be I would prefer to like buy all like Deadpool, Batman Arkham VR. I would prefer to buy those all on Steam rather than having them on Quest. It'll be interesting if, I really don't want to, it would pain me to think that like the way that people are going to be playing these games on the Steam frame is basically through piracy, is like just getting the game and then just running it on there because it can. And, some developers just be like, oh, it doesn't have these proprietary things. Let's just like nip those parts off. And, Bob's your uncle, we have the Steam frame version running. I hope that that's not the case, that happens. So yeah, I don't know. It's very interesting. Also, to back up what you're saying, Linux adoption has been going up, and Microsoft has been stepping on every rake around them. So that's not very helpful for them, and they've been taking it on the chin for performance, and also this AI thing that they are just hoisting on everything that people are getting more and more fed up with. So it's interesting. I wonder where it's all going to shake out. I don't necessarily think that the average user is going to go there, because as soon as they hit something on Linux side, I think that there's a fear there for quite a number of individuals. So it'll be interesting to see how it all shakes out ultimately. But like Russ has said, that 8% figure is what I am hoping for. That's the one that where the snowball happens, where you have the anti-cheat, all that other stuff, the kernel level anti-cheat and all that other stuff starts coming out. And that's really the part that I care about most. And I hope that we get there. It'll be interesting to see how it all shakes out.
Yeah, let us know in the comments section down below that like button if you would prefer native Linux builds, or you would prefer that devs just focus on just one build and that build is the best build. Let us know what you think in the comments section down below. And let's move on to our next topic, which I thought, this isn't really news related, but I thought we would all just fire up our Steam personal calendar. For those of you that don't know, if you go to Steam and steampowered.com/personal calendar, it's a website, and it's going to, you log in, it's going to generate a bunch of games that are newly released or soon to be released, and they're based on the games that you tend to like. And I thought each one of us would go to that website and find one game that we thought looked interesting. And I'm going to start us off with this game. It's currently 15% off. It's normally just $8, but right now it's $6.79. And it's on my, I'm wish listing this right now because I've never heard of this, but it looks cool. It's called Marbles. And it looks like Marble Madness. Whoops, there's music. Sorry about that. It looks like Marble Madness. It's got this old school vibe to it. But then there's like lighting and stuff that they wouldn't have been able to do back in the day. It's also 3D at the same time, but it looks like a cross between 2D and 3D. I think this game looks really, really fun. And I remember playing Marble Madness on my Nintendo Entertainment System when I was a kid. I never played it in the arcade. We didn't have an arcade version where I lived. But playing that game, which I loved that game, but playing it on the D-pad was a freaking nightmare. This, with a joystick is going to be so much better. I think this looks super fun. And right now, nobody knows about this. It has 70 total reviews right now. And I think it looks really cool, and it's 15% off. So that's mine, Marbles, which is, there's an apostrophe S on the first Marbles. Do you guys like Marble Madness from back in the day?
Oh, of course.
Yeah, totally. I only played it NES, but yeah, definitely.
All right, Russ, whoa, Carrie, you're huge.
Yeah, I know. I don't know why I'm so huge.
2026 is going to be fine then.
There we go.
There we go. All right. I hope that comes through in the video version of the show. Otherwise, we're just going to be weird. Russ, what's the game that jumps out at you on your calendar?
So I'm looking at released in the last month, and these are really interesting because many of them, like Marbles, which is on my list too, it has very low amount of reviews, and because of that, it can be like swayed one way or the other very easily, right? There's not enough to make a real good consensus. Like if just one guy hated the game, he can like push it down. And so the game that I'm looking at is called Taxi Chaos 2. And it looks like Crazy Taxi 2, basically, but like more 3D and kind of, more graphically like intense and stuff. It looks great, but it's got 11 reviews and it says mixed. So I'm like, well, is this a bad game or is it just one guy who's got a vendetta, Anyway, yeah, I'm going to keep an eye on this. It's $25 and it's not on sale right now. So I'm going to, keep an eye on it and put it in my wish list, but it looks kind of cool. It definitely reminds me of like a modern Dreamcast game. So
yeah, I just clicked on the mixed and it says 68% of the 16 user reviews of this game are positive.
Yeah, that's the thing about some of these games. They might have a very nice trailer, but maybe not a great game.
Yeah, that's true. Boy, I tell you what, I cannot wait for Sega's new Crazy Taxi to come out though.
Oh, yeah.
I'm so excited about that. And the fact that it's going to be like multiplayer where you're like, there's a bunch of taxis driving around in the world, in an open world at the same time. That seems super fun to me. Carrie, what's on your list?
So I'm struggling with the one that I want to pick, but I'm leaning towards this one, and it's has 10,000 reviews, and it's overwhelmingly positive. It came out December 18th, 2025, so a month and a half ago. The name of the game is called Mon Bazou. I'm gonna lean on you, Russ, for pronunciation. The title, the description is: build your crappy vehicle into a race car, install the parts yourself, make money by cutting wood, racing at night, or delivering pizza. Maybe you want to manage a sugar shack or build yourself a big garage. So it's kind of like a racing RPG in some sense, where you have like you're trying to build a better race car. I kind of really like this idea in some respects, and the reviews are outrageously great. So this is one that I think I care about the most just looking at it, and this is the one that I would choose.
It seems like it's a cross between car mechanic simulator,
right?
And then I'm watching the trailer right now, and there's like they're doing something with like the trees. Have you seen the trailer for this, Carrie?
I did, yeah. So he's cutting wood he's raising money outside of like racing to buy parts to build a race car.
This is wild. What were you going to say, Russ?
So I put it into Google Translate, Mon Bazou. I'm assuming it's French, and it says my jalopy.
Yeah.
Oh, perfect.
Thank you so much, Russ. I really appreciate it.
I love that it said, like, the third word in the description is crappy, right? Build your crappy vehicle into a race car. Like, it is it's so informal, the use of that word. You know what I mean? It's not like take your junk car or whatever. They said crappy. And I don't know. I really like that. Like, it's just kind of clever and just fun, So, yeah, I'm liking this too. Graphics are kind of rough,
Yeah.
But, I don't know. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, I'm sure the game is just super charming.
Yeah, I feel like they're rough in a way that there's intentionally bad. You know what I mean? Like some games have controls that are intentionally bad, which I hate those kind of games. But like you're right, Russ. These graphics do look really pretty rough, and especially there's a point where this guy's sitting having a cigarette, and his hand. I don't know how you could draw a hand that way. It's really weird.
Yeah, so it must be French because it says Canada's foremost car building, maple syrup producing, street racing survival game. So yeah, definitely Canadian.
Quebec. All right, so those are ours. Hey, listen, everybody, if you go to check out your personal calendar, let us know of a game that you think looks awesome, or maybe a game that looks terrible, and let us know in the comment section down below. All right. With that done, let's move on to our next story, and that story is about Nintendo. This is very interesting. I saw this originally over on Reset Era. Somebody corrected me last week and told me it's not Reset Era, it's Reset Era. Okay. But what they found were these two posts on Blue Sky, and when you look at these, this one person says, I think I've discovered something interesting, but I have no idea what it implies. On Nintendo's account portal, there's an unused model code under the name OSM. The Switch 2's model code is BEE, and the portal images for the Switch model requesting OSM returns an image of the Switch 2. And, people were curious about like, well, how old is this thing? So somebody used the Wayback Machine, which lets you look at how websites looked before, like on different dates. And so Aaron Dews, also on Blue Sky, they said they checked on the Wayback Machine. It archived these URLs with a $T parameter, which seems to be in the JavaScript build time. This reveals that it was added between the 9th of September 2025 and the 16th of September 2025. So that's when this, I forgot what the code is, OSM. Now, the Nintendo Switch 2 has been out it came out in March, right?
Or May. What, around there, yeah.
May.
It's less than a year.
Yeah, less than a year. Do you guys think that Nintendo is working on replacing the chip in the Nintendo Switch 2? Because that's what we saw the first time around. The Nintendo Switch came out, and then after a certain amount of time, we saw a new chip that was more power efficient, not more powerful, but more power efficient. And that allowed them to have a much bigger battery life without putting a bigger battery in. And everything else about the Nintendo Switch was exactly the same. Or do you think that this could be a Switch to Lite, where where it's smaller and the Joy-Cons are attached instead of detachable? Personally, I feel like it's a little soon for Switch Lite, but for a new chip, for them to be making something with a new chip that has better battery life, that seems, I mean, obviously not to release now, but to release in the near future, maybe in 6 months or so. I think that that's a possibility. Carrie, what do you think?
So there's a few things. One of the, you have to, this is speculation for me, but one of the reasons that I could pinpoint as a reason that Nintendo accelerated Mariko, which is the code name of their FinFET design chip of the X1.
The one that's more efficient.
Power efficient, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it runs at a lower clock to be much the same as power efficient. It could technically be more powerful. They just don't let it. So effectively, it's just more power efficient, right? It's like 2 times battery life. And you have to remember that one of the reasons that Nintendo wanted that was that the X1 was basically just hacked to bits, right? Like it was like, it was just a spring chicken. You could just like, I own this platform now. And Nintendo was like, oh goodness, this is the worst thing ever. And we have something that we need to plug up. And Mariko, you can mod and stuff, but it is not nearly as easy to mod as the original X1 Switch was. So I do feel like we saw that come out faster because of a security vulnerability, and likely that NVIDIA had to make nice with that, because, they're like, oh crap, that's our stuff and we screwed up bad, so let's fix this. So I could see NVIDIA being on the hook for like financing that a bit, whereas we don't see that for the Switch 2. And in either respect, for a Switch 2 Lite or a Switch 2 OLED, I think that the underpinning for having this chip, or even like something of this chip, makes sense to talk about now. I don't see them coming out with it anytime soon. We knew about the Switch 2 for years before it actually even came out.
Yeah.
So I don't see this being anything other than, it could just be planning to get a more efficient chip, because they're going to need it to put it into a Switch 2 Lite 100% to even make that feasible. Because even the Switch 2 now takes quite a bit more power than the Switch 1 does in its handheld mode. And then a whole bunch more power when it's docked, which the Switch Lite won't really do. But you still have that 10-watt total system power. That's not going to be like, here's the Switch 2 Lite. It gets an hour. And no one's going to be really happy with that. So they're really going to need a better process node so that they can get make it more efficient, run at lower clocks, so that a Switch 2 Lite can have decent battery life, which is the same thing for the Mariko and the Switch 1 Lite. But I don't see it for another 2 years, to be honest, especially because the lifespan of this is going to be long. So it's like, the Nintendo playbook is going to be Switch Lite and Switch OLED, or Switch 2 OLED and Switch 2 Lite, either one, but they're going to do like in a 2-year cadence, I feel. So it's like, after 2 years, we'll have one of them, and then another 2 years, we're going to have the other one of them. This way they can kind of like stretch out and always have something there, and then have that 8-year cycle before they need to think about a Switch 3.
Yeah, I also wonder if it has something to do with the fact that like the Switch 2 is like the fastest selling console of all time. Mm-hmm. And so they have to start planning this stuff sooner, because like maybe they went to NVIDIA and they said, we're going to buy this many of your, whatever the new chip is. I can't remember off the top of my head. We're going to buy this many of that chip. And they're looking at their projections for, like, their projections said, we'll sell through this many in this amount of time. But they're selling through them faster because the Switch 2 is so fast selling that maybe they're like, okay, well, now we're going to have to do something with the next chip. And so maybe that's what the little code is for. Russ, do you think that this is A, nothing at all, B, a Switch with a refresh chipped, or C, a Switch Lite, or of course there's going to be people who leave a comment saying Switch OLED, which I don't see that's even close to a possibility for a long time.
So I'm kind of skewing towards nothing at all. It just maybe some little thing that they found. But if I was to predict what's coming next, I would say it's probably OLED or Lite, and it's going to, like Carrie said, a couple years off. I think they're going to try to milk this for as much as they can, which is, I don't think it's a bad thing. There was a 6-year gap between Wii and Wii U, and then there was a 5-year gap between Wii U and Switch, right? So those were kind of short cadences in terms of console launch compared to the Switch 1. I think it's just too early for them to be planning on a Switch Lite or an OLED or whatever. It's to the point where if it was announced 6 months from now, regardless if it was the Lite or OLED, I think current Switch 2 owners would be like, what the heck? Like now my thing is obsolete, Not that it is, but that's kind of the consensus if something is launched too soon afterwards. So I agree. I think that 2 years is probably the right move. Whether or not this is an indication of either of those, I'm not really sure. I would rather see a Switch Lite than an OLED one. That's mostly because I don't really play in handheld mode with the Switch 2. It's so big, and if it got an OLED screen, I don't think I would do it anymore, but I would definitely play a Switch 2 Lite for sure. So
I remember when the Switch 2 Lite came out, or the Switch 1 Lite came out, and I ended up getting one for my wife, and I liked it a lot better than the original Switch because it was so much more comfortable to hold. The Switch 2 still is not very comfortable to hold because it's so flat and it is kind of big. You're not wrong about that. But the Switch 2, my problem with playing on the Switch was the Joy-Cons always felt like they were a failure point that I had to worry about. That is not the case on the Switch 2. They feel solid. When you're playing in handheld mode, they really do feel solid. And I love that big screen. So to me, a Switch 2 Lite, I'm not personally interested in that myself. But that doesn't mean that I don't think, I'm sure that they are going to make one. But my personal take on this is that this is a chipset refresh that we'll see maybe a year and a half after the original launch of the Switch 2, which was last March. So we'll probably see like around October or something, a chip refresh.
So I was going to say, it's funny that you like the sticks on the Switch 2. That's the reason why why I don't play in handheld mode.
Not sticks. Just the Joy-Cons themselves.
Just the feel. Okay.
Like they don't feel like they're going to break in my hand. Yeah, the sticks still suck.
Yeah. So I don't know if you guys saw, but Extreme Rate is making drop-in replacements for the Joy-Cons. And so I'm hoping they have a little bit more action around them. They can move around more. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm definitely going to try to pick those up. So obviously you got to take the Joy-Con apart, but yeah, I mean, we haven't seen any Joy-Con replacements yet that snap in that actually have better sticks and stuff. And so this might be the first solution, is to just have a drop-in replacement. You can just change out the module itself. So I am looking forward to that. I'm not even getting to the point where I can see any of the blurring on the screen that Carrie hates, because I don't want to deal with it because of the sticks and size. So it's pretty funny. we all dislike it for different reasons.
We all don't use it for various reasons.
The biggest reason I don't use it is because there's just no games that I couldn't play otherwise on that system for me. Like, I know that there's games, but for me, they haven't brought out the ones that I want to play. I really thought that I wanted to play Metroid, but I don't want to play that Metroid. It's just not, I don't find it to be a very fun game. All right. Let us know what you guys think that this weird thing is. Is Nintendo going to bring out a new chipset? Is it the Switch 2 Lite? Is it the Switch 2 OLED? Are they going to replace the screens so that Carrie will stop yelling at them? Let us know what you guys think in the comments section. And with that done, let's move on to our next topic. And that's also related to Nintendo. They are monitoring RAM prices and tariffs really, really closely. Mr. Furukawa, who is the CEO or the president of Nintendo, he said hardware profitability. Just a reminder, Nintendo makes a profit on hardware. Nobody else does. Although I think Valve will with Valve does too. But he said hardware profitability depends on factors like component procurement conditions, cost reductions through mass production, and the impact of exchange rates and tariffs. It's difficult to generalize. Fundamentally, we aim to address this by advancing component procurement over medium to long term. So they are buying lots of stuff. They're using their deep pockets to buy as much as they can so that they can get better deals. He also said that the increasing cost of RAM, which is due to AI, is making it really hard for them to get that stuff. He said, we procure from suppliers based on our medium to long-term business plans, but the current memory market is volatile. There's no immediate impact on earnings, but it's something we must monitor closely. So, I mean, I speculated, I don't know, in a recent episode, I speculated that Nintendo is going to raise their prices soon. They're going to raise like we've seen Xbox raise prices twice on their hardware. We've seen PlayStation raise prices multiple times on their hardware. Valve has not raised prices on their hardware like truly, but they got rid of the cheapest version. So it's effectively that is a price increase. Nintendo is the only one that has not raised prices, but that's also because the system has only been out for less than a year. It seems like they're saying, hey, right now we're doing okay, but if we can't keep doing what we're doing, if we can't get the RAM that we need because the AI data centers are buying up all of it, we're going to have to raise prices in the future at some point. And my question that I'm wondering about is how long do we think it's going to be? Like, I thought that we would have seen Nintendo raise the prices after the holiday season. The holiday season's over, so maybe they would raise prices then. That was my first thought. My second thought was that they would raise prices at the end of their fiscal year, which is March 31st, because I think April 1st is the beginning of their fiscal year. And so they would raise prices at that point. But I'm curious what you guys think. Carrie, do you think that Nintendo is going to be raising prices in the near future, or do you think, based on Furukawa's statements here, that it's going to be longer than we thought?
It's hard to determine. I think it's going to be a while before we see price hikes myself. I think that Nintendo's logistics and the people that they have in charge of understanding pipelines and stuff is fairly well developed. Like I've always joked about, there's that one dude that knows exactly. He's like, oh, we need to make exactly this much so that we come close to selling out, or we do sell out, and then FOMO is maximized. That guy always gets his bonus. He knows what he's doing. And likewise, it goes in the other direction, that he knows like how to work inside of this sphere. So I have full confidence in that team that of the business side of Nintendo for doing it, because they've historically been very good at it. I think they've only failed a few times, not terrible, but also, as you've said, they do make a profit on their hardware. So they can choose to just make less profit instead of losing more money, which most of the competitors are like coming close to losing money. So then when it goes over there, they're like, have to raise prices because they're not going to lose more money. So they have to compensate. So there's wiggle room in both directions, which is why I don't think we'll see it. And then you also, not for nothing, well, I mean, to Nintendo's chagrin, over the holiday season, Switch 2 was $50 off on every model. And Nintendo themselves did not like authorize that. Companies were just doing it because they knew it was a hot item and they wanted customers to come in. So
I didn't know about that.
Yeah. So Nintendo was like, stop, please. Like, I mean, I say, but like there's news that that wasn't a marketing thing from them. Every company was just doing it because it was a hot item to get people to come into their stores and stuff, or to buy from them. So yeah, if they were worried like, oh, we can just sell like this, well, you know, they're going to sell this much, and then these companies make it more attractive, and they're like, oh no, our margins and metrics are all messed up now. So yeah, I don't see them doing it for quite a bit. I think that they can weather this entire year. I'm going to say for this entire year, we're going to see the price of the Switch 2 remain the same.
Carrie, or not Carrie. See, Rich isn't even here, and I screwed it up. Russ, Carrie's prediction is that they can finish out this year. Do you think they can finish out this year, or do you think that they will have to? Do you think that they would raise the price next year in 2027, or do you think it'll happen sooner than that?
I think that it's probably going to happen this year if they do it. And I also think we're going to get a lot of indication beforehand from other companies if it's something they're going to do, because the Switch 2's only got 12 gigs of RAM. You know, compare that to a Legion Go S with 32 gigs of RAM in the Z1 Extreme model. Like, I feel like there are going to be other pain points throughout the industry when it comes to RAM that we'll probably see beforehand. And we'll get an indication like, okay, if they're raising their prices, Nintendo's going to have to do it as well, because even if it is only 12 gigs of RAM, it's going to be costly at some point if it continues to get bad. So yeah, my guess here would be that we're going to see it this year. It seems a little crazy for them to increase it 2 years after the launch date, but you know, they increased the prices of the original Switch models earlier that last year, right? They did $40 more for the regular Switch. They went $50 more for the Switch OLED, and the Switch Lite went up by $30 too. So yeah, they definitely don't mind releasing or increasing the price later on in the life cycle of a console, which is just kind of crazy to me. But I would rather them just get it over with now, personally. If they're going to be doing it, maybe do it now and then see if they can fluctuate as the need goes on in the future. I don't know.
I have two things that I want to say. Number one, it's weird that we're already used to the idea that companies like raise prices on systems after they come out. This is the first time that that's ever happened, is this generation, as far as I know. Yeah, and we're already like, well, it's just, this is what happens now.
I would even say, part of me wants to say too, that maybe things will get cheaper on all the other components where they won't have to raise the prices because the other ones are getting more expensive. You know what I mean? Like, maybe it'll balance it out. Anyway, didn't mean to interrupt, but that was the other thought.
No, that's okay. That makes sense. Like, if they can rob Peter to pay Paul, then it makes sense for them to do that kind of thing. The second thing that I wanted to say is, you mentioned that there would be indicators that we would see ahead of time, where other companies are struggling because of something. I didn't put it in the show notes, but I saw rumors that NVIDIA is already saying, hey, we're going to, oh God, I wish that I had like bookmarked it or something. They had said something along the lines of they're unofficially stopping production on this card. I can't remember which card it was, because it has this much VRAM in it, and they're going to make this other card instead because it has less VRAM, so that they can actually get that out there. Did you say something, Carrie? I thought I heard your voice.
No, effectively, you're correct. The rumor is that we have not heard anything of, and it's kind of weird because the 5080 has been on sale for $1,000 quite frequently in various different places, which suggests to me that like this is companies getting rid of what they have at whatever they can. They sell out instantly. Whenever Wario like is like, oh, there's $1,000, it sells out instantly. So it's interesting, the whole thing, but you know, this is all, I feel like 2026 is like, well, consumers can't afford anything anyway, so only companies can buy stuff. So let's not even make these and just put all of our manufacturing capability to actually doing stuff that we can charge megabucks for the other stuff for. And that's my general feeling, is like they have like 3060s and stuff, right? They have like old stuff that they're making and selling, and because people still have it. So again, 2026 is not going to be a good year. But yeah, I heard the same thing what you heard. Effectively, that is what is being said.
You were wondering why you were labeled the curse guy. This is why, because you keep saying that 2026 is going to be terrible. For those of you that missed it, somebody had made a reply in one of my comments, a screenshot of the four of us. I mean, Rich isn't here, but you guys know who he is. And they said they labeled Carrie as the curse guy They labeled me as Bad News Bill. They labeled Russ as Rich, and they labeled Rich as Russ, which was hilarious. But I'm going to try, and if I can remember where I have the picture that I screenshotted, I'm going to try and throw it up on screen right now. And if I didn't do it just then you just have to yell at me for forgetting. All right. This is a video game podcast, guys. It's not a movie podcast. But video game movies, I'm excited for video game movies. I'm excited. This isn't in the show notes, but I'm very excited that the guy from who was the guy that was just cast as Kratos? Could have got me, by the way.
I know who you're talking about. I saw the news. The name is escaping me. The only thing that's popping in my head is his profile. And
you're like, "Yep, that's Kratos for sure."
Yeah, I could totally see it.
Yeah, but the thing I'm most excited for is that I didn't realize that show is going to be showrun by Ronald D. Moore, the guy who did Battlestar frickin' Galactica.
Yeah.
Hell yes, I am fired up for that show now. So excited. Now they just got to cast a kid that's not annoying to play Atreus, and it's on. You know what I mean?
So the guy is Ryan Hurst, is who you meant.
From Sons of Anarchy.
Sons of Anarchy. But he also, ironically, was the voice of Thor in God of War Ragnarok. So he's already familiar with the source material, but he's just playing a different character now.
That's hilarious. You know what? They could have got him to play Thor, and they could have got. Have you guys seen Reacher?
Yes.
Okay. The latest season of Reacher, there's a guy in that episode or in that show who is bigger than Reacher.
Yeah.
Like the dude is I swear to God, he's a giant. He could have been a really good God of War actor. But anyway, speaking of casting, we saw Sophie Turner from Game of Thrones has been cast as Lara Croft, and holy cow, does she look exactly like Lara Croft. Like, this is perfect. Like, they nailed the look. And I haven't seen much of her stuff, but I saw Game of Thrones, and she was a fantastic part of that show. I loved her character arc in that, and she acted the hell out of it. So I'm super excited about this. I hope that she has to fight a T-Rex at some point during the show.
It's going to be awesome.
What was that, Carrie?
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. Just
yeah. Are you guys excited about the Tomb Raider show, or is this not something that you care about?
So I'm going to jump in real quick. I'm a big fan of Tomb Raider. I love the Tomb Raider games. I like Indiana Jones. I love Uncharted. That entire genre of adventure-y, exploring, even like Resident Evil has that kind of thing where you're just kind of like taking disparate objects and like slotting them into something, and like a big boulder gets out of the way. A Goonies type of thing, right? Like that type of stuff triggers a part of my brain that I really love, like booby traps and all that other stuff. I just really like that entire all those tropes. So I do really like Tomb Raider, but Lara Croft to me is a very hard character to do. Like, you have a lot of competing ideas, and like, well, she has to look like this, but she also has to like have this British devil may care kind of like attitude that I have not. Angelina Jolie, it like has the aura of it, but when she was doing it, it wasn't there. Like, it fell flat for me. So it's like that kind of thing is like this textural thing of like, it really matters to me how well she can kind of. Lara Croft isn't like super bombastic or anything. She has a very specific kind of, I don't want to say, like pompous or anything, but she has like she's sophisticated, right? Like there's a part of Lara Croft that is not just like, like Drake, Nathan Drake or Indiana Jones. There's a bit more English class that I feel like is really important to her character, that I have not really seen that in anything. So I don't know. I'm just hoping that the feeling of the games is there rather than just, the big pieces of it.
I feel like when you look at old video game stuff and then compare it to new video game stuff, I feel like new video game stuff has a tendency, not always, but has a tendency to take the source material a little more seriously. Like, they don't dumb it down because video games are for kids, that kind of thing. They do tend to take it more seriously. No shade against Angelina Jolie, because I've seen her do some really amazing acting depending on what she's in. But I feel like the Tomb Raiders, or the Tomb Raider movie, I only saw the first one. I think there are multiples. With Angelina Jolie, that was an Angelina Jolie movie. That was not a Tomb Raider movie. That's how I felt about it. And I was like, okay, well, it's fine.
Yeah, so I would say on my end, like Sophie Turner in general, I only really have seen her as, Sansa Stark. And then she was Jean Grey, I think, in like some of those prequel movies, right? Mm-hmm. But those are both kind of stoic characters, a little cold, a little quiet, And so I'm kind of not feeling that with Lara Croft, but I feel like, she's probably a wide enough ranged actor that I just haven't seen all that, But one interesting thing about this is that the showrunner or the main creator is Phoebe Waller-Bridge from Fleabag.
Oh, I love Fleabag.
Yeah, she's super witty, super funny, a great writer. She's worked on other stuff too. And so that kind of actually gives me a little bit more faith in the whole source material. I'm like, all right. Because that's I think the word, Carrie, that I was thinking when you were describing is that like there's a dry wit to Lara Croft.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And there's like a very British kind of sensibility.
Yes.
And that's like what I want to see too, And they also say in this article that Sigourney Weaver and Jason Isaacs are in this as well, and Bill Patterson. And so quite a few names, I'm looking forward to this. I think it'll be pretty good. I think the whole reboot that we've seen with Lara Croft and the new stuff they've announced, and they haven't really shown much so far, all that looks good too. I like the direction they're going here, where it's kind of classic, but then still kind of more modern looking, like I like the classic outfit and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, and then to wrap up this movie segment of our show, we also have the fact that the live action Zelda movie, once it's done with its theatrical release, and then its home entertainment release periods, that's where it like comes out where you can buy it. Then it goes to Netflix. The thing that surprised me is, number one, I didn't know deals like that got made this early. And number two, I mean, Netflix is trying to buy, this is also video game related, because Netflix is trying to buy WB. WB, or Warner Brothers, owns a bunch of video game studios. So now Netflix is going to have the WB if they finish their deal, which, by the way, they just said that they're going to honor the 45-day release window, which is great news. But for movie theaters, but they're going to have WB, and they're going to have Nintendo stuff as well as the place where you can go streaming it. I mean, that's pretty damn good. I don't know that I have much else to say, but do you guys have any reaction to that?
The Mario game was on Netflix. I remember it went over there. Okay. It's not there. Yeah, it's not there anymore. So I'm thinking that maybe this is part of that kind of just relationship they've already established over the years. It's crazy to think that was, I think, a 2023 movie. It feels like just yesterday, but now it's actually, that was 3 years ago. It's kind of crazy.
Cool. Yeah. No. I'm in agreement with you, Russell. It's like time is just super flying by. I am genuinely excited for Legend of Zelda.
Same.
Sony Pictures is involved with Legend of Zelda, right?
I think so, but I'm not 100% sure. I'm looking at the article now.
Yeah, under an agreement with Sony Pictures Entertainment.
Sony Pictures.
Right. So I think that there's a wider deal here outside of just Legend of Zelda, and it's just Netflix working with Sony a little bit more with getting some of their stuff onto Netflix itself. So I think that Netflix is trying to establish, especially with this Warner Brothers deal, they're really trying to establish themselves as the premier and only streaming service that you need. And with Warner Brothers and HBO Max, they have a big reason for everyone to just like, okay, this is the one I'm going to do. And then Sony's kind of this outlier. So I feel like they're kind of like making these deals in advance. So you also have like, the Spider-Mans and all the other stuff. There's lots of things that they're doing. So the deals that they're making are fairly lucrative for Sony, and Sony's happy. And Netflix gets to be this place where for people that aren't going to the movie theater, they have this real window of when they'll be able to get it onto Netflix, which is attractive. I'm super looking forward to the movie. So I think this is cool. I have Netflix through my T-Mobile account. So I'm happy about that. And yeah, it's I don't know. I think it's cool to see. Obviously, Netflix needs to do whatever they're going to do. YouTube is a huge force to be reckoned with.
Yeah.
So they have to do everything that they can to compete against that.
Yeah, I will say, like, just looking at the on-set pictures for Zelda, they just, I mean, we've talked about it before, but man, did they nail the look.
Yeah.
They really did. Like, it feels like, when you look at it, it feels like they're shooting it wherever they shot Lord of the Rings in New Zealand. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's exactly what my brain pictures when I play a Zelda game. I'm like, yep, this is what I had going on in my head at the time. It feels right. And
yeah,
I love that.
Have like
go ahead.
I have a tremendous amount of faith just from the few shots that we've seen that, I don't know, for me, it's like what I've seen, and Shigeru Miyamoto and everyone else, like they're really like taking this super seriously. And I'm very, very optimistic for this. Like, I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah. I love that video game stuff is getting taken seriously. Because there's never been a good reason that it shouldn't. And always in the past, it was always just like this stupid joke or something that they would do. All right. Let us know what you guys think of Lara Croft, of the Zelda movie, and of course of God of War, the trio of movie-related or TV-related stuff that we've been talking about. And let's move on to our next topic, which is Ecco the Dolphin. I played this game so much when I was a kid. I never figured out what the hell I was supposed to do, but I always really enjoyed playing Ecco the Dolphin on my Sega Genesis. It was a beautiful game. Just the motion of swimming around as Ecco was really cool. And the thing that we're seeing here, this is a story from Rock Paper Shotgun. Basically, the original creator of Ecco the Dolphin, Ed Annunziata, I think I probably screwed up his name. He is the CCO of A&R Atelier. He said, Ecco has always been more than a game about a dolphin. It's a bridge between worlds. And they're remaking the first two, and then they are going to make a third game as well. Russ, as the resident retro fella, you got your channel over there, Retro Game Core. You play much Ecco the Dolphin?
I did. I played a lot of the first one. We actually owned it on the Genesis back in the day. I loved it. I love the fluidity of the motion and stuff. He also made a game called Colibri, which is like a hummingbird game for the Sega 32X.
Oh, okay.
Which is kind of interesting. It's exploratory as well. A little bit more combat-y, like kind of almost like a not vertical, but like a horizontal shooter in some ways, but also you explore a bit. Yeah, it's a fun game too. I like both those games. I've been following Ed Annunziata for years on, I think, Twitter or somewhere else. He's kind of a loudmouth, like he's got some opinions, and so I like that, But yeah, I'm excited to see some stuff in the future for them. I hope that they kind of keep it simple. That was one of the things I liked about Ecco the Dolphin. It starts out simple, and then all of a sudden there's like aliens and spaceships and stuff, and it's all kind of crazy. And I like that part of it too.
Very cool. Carrie, did you play much Ecco? Are you going to reach up above you and grab a copy of Ecco the Dolphin?
No, I did own a copy of Ecco the Dolphin before it got stolen from me, but I only played the first 2 levels I got to a second part of Ecco the Dolphin and no further. It's a fascinating game, and it's not, I never got further in the game, and I never had it really hook me, but I did have a large sense of intrigue of like, what are you even doing? And you're exploring, you're figuring it out. I loved that part of the game, and it does pull on that thread of like the Metroidvanias that we talk about all the time that I really love. And it does it in such a simple way. And I would be remiss if I didn't say, like, to, piggyback off of what Russ was saying with the fluidity of just moving around and diving and interacting and stuff, because of that feedback being so quick and being able to just experiment quickly. helped that entire thing. I never finished it. I'm aware of the craziness that happens, but that's as far as I ever got.
I will add that
go ahead.
I was just going to say that it really isn't that fun of a game to play, like it's so frustrating when you get hit, the sound he makes, and then it just kind of, hits you back a bit. And then you usually will get hit again. And it's just frustrating, plus you run out of oxygen. So it kind of feels like the water levels in Sonic where you're just searching for bubbles, it's kind of like, it is punishing and kind of hard to play. But again, I was 13 when that game came out. And so I didn't have anything else to do. And so I definitely played a lot of that game back in the day.
Yeah, well, we had so few games back then. So with the games that we had, we played a lot of. The last thing that I'll say about this before we move on is, how do you say his name again, Russ? Annunziata?
Ed Annunziata, yeah.
Annunziata.
As far as I know. I think it's Italian, yeah.
So he also said, me and the entire original team are going to remaster the original Ecco the Dolphin and Tides of Time games. Then we'll make a new third game with contemporary play and GPU sensibilities. So, he's got the whole team of that back together. That's crazy to me. Also, Carrie, I just noticed behind you, you got your play button, dude. There it is. Congrats.
Yeah. Hey, thanks, that's awesome.
Yeah, I've had it there for a bit. Not too long. I was going to make a video on it, and then time kind of passed, and I was just like, I'll just put it on the shelf.
Yeah. Well, there it is. Congrats, dude. Yep. All right. Let's move on to our next topic. Actually, I'm just going to do a quick thing real quick. We have a bunch of events that are coming to Steam later on this year. So I want to just run people through the first half of the year. We have Detective Fest, which is going on right now. Then there's Board Game Fest starting January 26th. Typing Fest, no thank you. February 5th. PvP Fest. Russ, that seems like it's great for you.
That's a no thank you for me.
Yeah, exactly. Horse Fest. I'm not a horse guy. And then Steam Next Fest is in February, the end of February. So our next Steam Next Fest is in February. Then we have our Tower Defense, March 9th. The spring sale comes March 19th. I just got to say, I love that Valve tells us the dates of their sales that are coming ahead of time. Nobody else does that, at least not that I know of. Do you guys know of any other site that does that?
I mean, so they used to be pretty tight-lipped about it, but they would never restrict anybody participating in it. So you'd see a lot of platform holders, especially Devolver Digital. They're like, if you're going to buy this game, you should probably wait a week. Wink, wink. And you'd always have one of those, but now they just seem to be like, well, we don't care. And everyone kind of knows the times anyway. So we might as well just put it in there. And then you also get all those themed stuff that I am a big fan of that they've been doing lately. So I think that they changed gears sometime, and I don't remember when, but it felt like quite a bit of time, as you've noticed, Bill. It's been for sure, they have forecasted this, but I want to say maybe 3 or 4 years ago it wasn't the case.
Yeah. So then in the rest of March, we have the House and Home Fest. April, we have the Hidden Object Fest and Medieval Fest. And then in May, Deck Builders and Ocean related games. So that's the first half of the year. The second half of the year, there's tons more. I'm not going to go through all that because it's so far away. I just thought it's really cool that they tell us about all this stuff ahead of time. And if you guys have games that you think should go in these different fests, and you're like, okay, I think that this one's going to be in this, and it's an awesome game, so make sure you wish list it now. Let us know in the comments section. Next up, I wanted to talk about... Oh, sorry, Russ. I didn't see your hand up because I was looking at the other window. Go ahead.
Oh, I think I still have that up from Ecco the Dolphin. But I will say, going back to Ecco the Dolphin, that guy also produced the X-Men Genesis game. I don't know if you guys played that one.
That was awesome.
That was another game that was so cool.
Wolverine?
You can choose
Cyclops,
and you can even play as Gambit, which is kind of crazy. Yeah. But that one was also punishing. If you got hit, it would hit you back, and then we had that one too. And I spent a lot of time on that, being frustrated. Anyway, that was one of my hands up.
I gotcha. Okay, I don't want to spend too much time on this because I'm the only one that cares. Monster Hunter Wilds, apparently there's some kind of weird bug that is the reason for all of the terrible performance on PC. And the bug is related to how much DLC you have purchased, which sounds insane, that the more DLC that you purchase, the better the game plays. And
makes sense.
Right. That sounds conspiratorial, but I cannot imagine that anybody, like, there's zero. I do not believe that this is something that Capcom did on purpose, but somebody figured it out, and then they made like a mod which lets you pretend to have all of the DLC, and you get like a big performance boost. I have not tried it myself. I believe, I can't remember who was this. You, Russ, who sent it to our Discord, or was it Jimmy?
It wasn't me. Yeah.
I think it was Jimmy then that sent this. And apparently you're getting, like, people are getting almost double the frame rate with this mod, which is insane to me. But I just wanted to bring that up before we move on to, I post earlier on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/NerdNest. I already screwed that up. Nice job, dummy. And I posted true or false. I basically said, hey, give us a statement and put us on the spot to either agree with you or disagree with you on this. And I went through, or I posted that, and we had a bunch of people respond. And I'm trying to find one that I had picked, and I keep response status responded. Apply. True or false? AYN, Retroid, and the other Android handheld manufacturers will switch from Android operating system to SteamOS ARM builds after the Steam frame releases and Proton/Vex gets incorporated by Batocera and Bazite for ARM. True or false? Russ, this seems like it's right up your alley because it's talking about all that stuff that you're constantly putting out videos about. Do you think that they're going to move away from Android to SteamOS?
False. I think that they will make it an option. You'll be able to boot it from SD card, much like they did. You can boot Batocera onto like an Odin 2 device, or at least Rocknex. I don't know if Batocera has support, but either way, right? You can boot a Linux operating system into the SD card, but they're not going to get away from Android. I mean, so much of the user space is in China, who plays like mobile games, and so I just don't see that really working. It's awesome. It's going to be really cool. Maybe they'll have the option that you could even flash it onto your internal storage and just have that run. But for the most part, I don't think they're going to switch from Android OS to SteamOS. I think it's going to just be an option.
And I agree with you, but for slightly different reasons. I think the main reason is because you would miss out on a lot of emulators that don't exist on Steam. Like, how would you get those things?
Compile them.
You would have to compile them yourself, right?
I mean, someone would compile them and then you just use them.
Sure,
yeah.
I guess. But I think that you would, like, I don't think that these companies would do that until after that kind of thing has already happened. And there's an easy way for you, because if the Play Store is not there, that makes it, I'm not going to say impossible. It makes it harder for the average user to get that stuff. Like, I know that I can like have all of my apps that I use for emulation on my SD card, and I can just tap and then they automatically install and I don't have to go to the Play Store at all. But most people, when they get a device like this, the first thing that they're going to do is open up the Play Store and search for emulator. And if they don't have the Play Store, then I think that they're going to struggle with that. Carrie, do you think that this is something that that they're going to switch to SteamOS right after that happens?
No, I agree with Russ. I don't think we're going to see it. They're not going to it'll be an option. And whenever that's available, it'll be there. And they'll be a little slow going. There's going to be obviously a large group of people that are interested in it, because now we're going to have, especially like AYN, the latest Odin and everything. And I feel like there's going to be that whiplash of expectations not being met very fast. So they're going to, like, you look at the price of what an AYN Odin is that you're going to need to run the games that you're going to want, and it's not going to be that far off from a Steam Deck. and performance wise, you're not going to be where you thought you were going to be. So you're going to be in this space of, boy, I'm paying $400 and I'm not really getting what I thought I was going to get out of this. It's going to be better in many instances, especially 2D games and other stuff, but it's not going to be what a lot of people, I think, feel like I am 100% confident that people are like, finally, we have the Apple M5 as a handheld. And they're not going to get that. And there's going to be a big whiplash event when reviews start coming out, and what we see is, oh, that's what it actually is. And that's fine. I think it's totally fine. It's just like expectations are going to be set. And that's why I think like there's going to be this like ramp up and kind of cool down period of, it's going to be cool for a lot of people, especially for a lot of people that just want to do that and like play Steam games on an ARM device, great battery life, great sleep support, being able to just jump into a Steam game quickly and just, play. I don't know. I think, but the price on some of even though AYN has such fantastic prices and RetroRed have such fantastic prices for these, I don't know. I don't, I agree with Russ. I don't think it's going to be that big of an event that people anticipate it to be.
I feel like that you just reminded me of when Macs first switched to Intel chips. And I was like, oh, I'm going to get one and dual boot Windows. And I got it. And but the drivers were terrible. And so I was dual booting Windows, but I was constantly running into issues. And so what I ended up doing is I was like, okay, fine. I guess I'll just also have a Windows machine for playing games on. And like, I fought the good fight for like a couple of years until I could afford to buy a Windows machine. But then I was like, okay, it's just the dual boot. It ain't working for me, even though I vastly prefer Mac. And that's what I do now. I have my Mac for this kind of stuff, what we're doing right now. And then I have a different PC to play games on. And it used to be a Windows machine, but now it's a Linux machine. Carrie, what's up?
Real quick on the same topic, I think that there is going to be a certain amount of value for people that are latency sensitive, and I think that SteamOS is going to offer a lot of things there. But as you brought up, I think like the Steam Frame hardware set is what is going to be the bigger thing that you need to like align yourself with, rather than like a SD 865 or whatever, and trying to like get a driver that works in there. I think you're going to find up having a better time matching exactly what the Steam Frame is on those things, and then just kind of piggybacking on all the work that Valve already does for it. And that's going to be the best like route that you can take.
Yeah. All right. Russ, do you want to pick a true or false out of the list?
Yeah, there's a lot of Half-Life 3 discussion in here. I'm going to go with true or false. Half-Life 3 will have a bigger launch, more copies of the game sold than GTA 6.
Ooh.
I think that's an interesting idea, but I do think that that's false. I think that Half-Life 3 is going to sell very well, and the nerds are going to rejoice. But there are more casuals who will pick up GTA 6 than Half-Life 3. You're going to see GTA 6 is going to be on the Today Show, right? They're going to be talking about it. They're going to bring an actor on, all that kind of stuff. They're not going to do that with Half-Life 3. Like, yeah, Half-Life 3, you ever played Half-Life 2? What about episode 1 and 2 afterwards? Did you play the VR game? Like, it's too nerdy, I think, for mainstream. And so I think that, yeah, GTA 6 is probably going to outsell it quite a bit.
So I don't know if you guys heard the latest news or the latest rumor of Grand Theft Auto 6, but apparently the rumor is that Rockstar understands like they take a bazillion years to make any of these things. So Grand Theft Auto 6 Online, which will just be Grand Theft Auto Online or whatever they want to call it, is going to effectively be Roblox or Fortnite. And there will be experiences that people can make inside of those worlds. So you're leveraging the Grand Theft Auto engine and universe to build on top of it, that people can just play other experiences inside of that. And they have a large enough base that I think that they might actually do something there. I don't know. It really depends, I think, on the UX mostly more than the engine or anything else, like how searchable and how well that kind of populates and bubbles up the new hotness, and how well and extensible Grand Theft Auto is to different weirdo type of things. So I don't know if that's happening, But I think for sure Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to outsell Half-Life 3 by bunches.
I will add that if they really want to hit that Roblox audience, one thing I didn't quite understand as a dad, just because I'd never really seen it, I just keep thinking of Roblox as a computer game. But my son's friends all play it, and they all play on their iPad. It's not a computer game to them. It's like a tablet game. And I don't know if GTA 6 can kind of do that whole GTA Online via iPad kind of thing. Like if they can capture that. But that seems to me like a crazy market that I didn't really think about. It was because my son had like all his friends come over. They all brought their iPads. They're like, let's play games. And I'm like, what are you guys going to play? And they're like, Roblox. And I was like, wow. And like, yeah, so it is kind of interesting how that tablet gaming for Roblox in particular is really strong.
Isn't, correct me if I'm wrong, isn't Red Dead Redemption on the App Store?
I think
they just added it. Yeah.
So I'll bet you, I mean, not right away, but GTA 6 will be on the App Store eventually.
Especially with how good Apple's silicon is, like their latest iPads and stuff. I could totally see an avenue where that's the case. It's interesting. That's an interesting point that you raise, Russ, and I don't disagree. I think that you are striking on something that is really important. It's interesting what's going on. It's funny to me that Roblox, Fortnite, and Minecraft are like Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo for this newer generation of kids. It's like
it really
such a bizarre thing. Yeah, like what do you got? What game? What system you guys play on? Roblox. What?
Yeah. So get this. You mentioned Minecraft. My son used to play Minecraft all the time. He and I would play together all the time, and he had like Minecraft toys, right? And we're currently like getting like we're house hunting, and we're getting ready to sell this house. So that means we're cleaning everything in the house, like decluttering the house. And so like one of my son's old Minecraft toys was sitting on the ground, and my grandson, who is 3, he came up to me because like right before we came upstairs, or right before I came upstairs to record with you guys, he came up to me and he was holding a creeper in his hand, and he goes, "Pops, what's this?" And I go, "That's a creeper." He goes, "That's from Minecraft." And I'm like, how do you even know what Minecraft is? Like, that is crazy to me. Apparently he watched the movie. But I was like, holy cow, how do you know what Minecraft is already? That's bananas. The only games that he and I have played was like the Lego games. But that was really interesting. Back to what, like, so my thoughts on the question is GTA versus Half-Life 3. The last Half-Life game was so long ago. If I walked down the street and I said, "Hey, are you going to play the new Half-Life game?" 90% of people would be like, "What is a Half-Life game?" Like they don't like nobody remembers it except for us olds. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas GTA has been the top selling game on, I think, like Amazon, or I can't remember. Like there's a website that tracks video game sales. And Half-Life, GTA 5 has been on there every single month for the last like 5 freaking years. Everybody knows what GTA is. So I think that's false. GTA is going to smoke it. Russ?
You made me think of something. So when the Steam Deck first came out, I was trying to describe it to people, just casuals or normals, and I was like, Steam Deck made by Steam, by Valve, and they're like, and I'm like, the guys that made Half-Life, and like that did not help, right? Like,
right.
That's just not something that they had heard of either, So like, okay, Portal, Team Fortress, I didn't know really where to go with that. Counter-Strike, and so it's just kind of funny, like how to describe that to somebody who isn't in the know, and I think that's again a good indication because everyone knows what Grand Theft Auto is. So
they really do. Go ahead.
Real quick, it's just a funny anecdote at work a long time ago. We hired a lot of kids right out of college, and I'm talking to this 20-something, and I was like, oh man, I felt like that one thing where like Bill and Ted, they die and they're in hell in Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, and they see the Grim Reaper, and this girl's just like looking at me, And this other guy who's my age just starts laughing. And he's like, she has no idea what you're talking about. I was like, oh, you know that scene in like Saving Private Ryan when he like looks down and he like transforms into the old person of himself? And she was still giving me a blank stare. And I was like, you know that thing in like Endgame where they just fizzle away into dust? And she's like, oh, yeah. I'm like, okay, there we go. Found common ground.
Common ground. Yeah. You got to figure that out. Carrie, do you want to find a topic?
I'm going to need you to pick one for me. I took a look on the show notes and I did not find the link that I can go looking for this.
Okay.
So just pick me one.
Sure.
And I will say true or false.
All right. I'm going to pick one for you. I'm scrolling through. True or false? Nintendo will not release another $80 game this generation. I really like this question.
Oh, that's a good question.
Isn't it?
That's a hard one. They will not release another $80 game this generation, Switch 2 generation?
In the Switch
False.
2 generation.
They will 100% sell another $80 game, like a base game, this generation. I am fully certain of that. They will go full Nintendo.
What game? You never go full Nintendo. I'm sorry, I stole Carrie's joke, so I'm crediting that joke back to Carrie right now. What's the game?
That will be it. That will do it. It's going to be, it'll be either, it's going to be a Mario game, like a traditional Mario 3D game. It will be a traditional Zelda game. For sure. For sure it'll do that. I don't think anything else really will be $80, but I'm feeling any proper mainline release of their top IP will be $80.
Maybe Welcome to Nintendo Switch 2.
Yeah, welcome to Nintendo Land.
Yeah. Russ,
I was going to say the same thing. That it's going to have the word Mario or Zelda in it, and it's going to be $80, definitely.
$80, and will there be DLC?
Oh yeah, You're going to need that DLC.
Gotta have the
and
DLC.
There'll be like 2 DLCs, and then they'll make a third DLC, but then it'll be too big, and then they'll make that like a whole other game, and they'll call it like Tears of whatever, and it'll just be a top and bottom.
Listen, man, I love that game. All right, he's trolling me.
It's DLC.
It is not DLC, dude. That game was huge.
All right. Agree to disagree.
All right, you know what? I'm doing this right now. True or false? Tears of the Kingdom is DLC. Russ, you got to be
false.
the tiebreaker here.
That's false. I mean, it is. I get what he's saying, right?
I get what he's saying too.
Breath of the Wild 1.75, as opposed to 2. But man, it's a completely different game. Like the above ground, underground, and just how deep that was. I prefer Breath of the Wild personally, but I like the simplicity and just kind of straight and narrow of that game compared to Tears of the Kingdom, which I think is just too roadblocksy for me. But yeah, that's kind of it for me.
I got one. True or false? Is Tears of the Kingdom a Zelda game?
Yeah, absolutely. I understand. Is it a traditional Zelda game? No. But is Spirit Tracks a Zelda game?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a Zelda game.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? There's only one Zelda game that's not a Zelda game, and that's the Abomination. The two, the Abominations that were on the CDI.
Yeah. Those are far removed.
Yeah. All right. So that was Carrie's true or false. I've got another true or false here. True or false? The Steam Machine will release a bare bones model around $400. So I believe what they mean is that it won't have RAM and it won't have VRAM. In order to save money. False. There's no chance that happens. I can see them shipping one without RAM, maybe.
Yes,
but VRAM is impossible.
Yeah, if it has SODIMM slots, which it does. It is expandable. Yeah,
it is expandable.
But VRAM is going to be soldered. There's no world in where you're going to have socketing, VRAM.
Well, usually bare bones will be no RAM or storage, so there'll be no OS on it. And I think that's just a bridge too far for somebody to pick up a Steam machine and be like, okay, now get a hard drive and flash the OS to that, then install. You know what I mean? Like it's just too much for that Steam machine concept.
The whole point of the Steam machine is like, this is Valve's thing. I mean, it used to be Apple's thing, but now it's Valve's thing. It just works. Like that's what they're trying to get to, is it just works. And selling you a box where you have to put RAM in, put storage in, and then install an operating system, that's not it just works. That's just build your own. Well, why would you even bother at that point other than that it's quiet?
Yeah, I guess it would be like if you had spare RAM. Like, I don't know how big of a market this is. This is like along those lines of like where people bring up really good points, and like the recyclability of like doing things, and like how Framework does stuff, right? But like I've heard of lots of people where they're like, boy howdy, I wish this handheld that I have, I could just replace the PCB.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll do it. I'll replace the PCB to get an upgrade rather than buying a whole new thing. And the market for that is so small from these already small numbers that's where things really start to fall apart.
I think that if they sold that in the accessories page of the Steam Machine sales page, then I could see that. You know what I mean? Like, here's the Steam Machine. You got your two different models. You go over the accessories and then like support. And there's like, hey, you can also buy a bare bones one. If you're smart enough to find this page, then you probably know how to install RAM and how to undo your storage and all that stuff. So as long as it's not on the front page, I could see them offering that, and the nerds would, would talk about it on Reddit and everything else. And then sure, that might be a pretty cool thing. I would consider picking something up like that. I have so many M.2s and RAM like modules here, so I could potentially do something like that. But that's not your average Joe, and it's not the theme and the ethos of the Steam Machine.
Yeah,
right.
I think the only way that they could pull it off is if they hid the purchase button within like with the Shift F11 or whatever, so that you can inspect the background like we talked about before.
No, they have to make it. You have to answer some trivia about Half-Life in order to see it.
Yeah, there you go.
So
Perfect.
take all the casuals out.
Yeah, I could see them hitting $400 without SODIMM, system RAM, or storage. I can see them hitting $400.
But you don't see them doing that.
No, I mean, no, I don't. I think that it's kind of like an interesting thing to talk about. I don't know. I don't know. I would wager that they wouldn't.
Okay. Russ, you want to pick the last one?
Yeah, it's kind of a cheat, but true or false, reviewers don't actually play games to completion. I think it's a good segue to talk about what we've been playing, because I did play a couple games to completion lately. So now, for the most part, I don't. So I would say probably true, but there are some exceptions to that.
So for me, there's very few games that I will finish. Most games will not hold my attention long enough, because in order for me to beat a game, it has to be so engrossing that I cannot stop playing. So I would play it for like multiple hours at a time. Most of the time, I don't have time to play games for multiple hours at a time because I have other stuff to do. So for me, I typically don't finish games, but the ones that I really love, I get hooked on and I cannot stop playing. So like Breath of the Wild, finished. Tears of the Kingdom. Well, actually, Breath of the Wild finished twice. Tears of the Kingdom, I finished. Final Fantasy VII Remake, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. There's certain games that I will absolutely finish. Indiana Jones. But most games, I dip my toe in, and then I see something shiny, and I'm like, what's that shiny thing over there? And then I go and I play that instead. And then I see another shiny thing. So I go just toe dip to toe dip to toe dip, if that makes sense. That sounds like it's not even a word anymore. Carrie, what about you, man? Do you finish games?
Is the question reviewers or just everybody?
Well, I think reviewers is the question, and I wouldn't consider myself a reviewer. I don't review things.
I would say, based on that wording of reviewers, I would say that is true. But it's more true today than it was years ago, because the volume of games that are coming out is prohibitive to actually play through a game to completion before you can review it. And also, not for nothing, like all the companies that are doing it, game companies, game magazines, or all the ones, they don't pay them enough. So it's like, they're if they're not really in there, I don't know. It's kind of a weird thing, and I don't think that time schedules when they get the game, how that all evens out and works out. You basically have to find a reviewer that does that, and you'll find them that they'll review it after the game has already come out by some length of time.
Right, because games are just they're so long.
Yeah.
I wasn't even thinking about game reviewers. I was thinking about us, like hardware.
I was
reviewers.
thinking about
That's-
us too, but game reviewers,
yeah.
like,
That's a good point.
also, you have to define what finishing a game is. Like, is finishing a game getting to the end credits, or is it 100%ing or something like that?
I'm going to say just getting to the end credits. Just getting to the end credits. Even the first one, like, in Animal Well, like the first end credits,
right?
I would consider completing, even though there's considerably more afterwards.
Okay. Well, I would say, like, the one reviewer that I pay close attention to is Skill Up. And he finishes every game that he plays. Well, every game that he reviews, he finishes every single one, or at least he says he does, and I believe him. I don't know how he does it. It's insane because he plays a lot of freaking games. So I think that's like, if you're getting paid to review games, like if you work for IGN, I'm betting that you're finishing that game because it's your job. And they're like, okay, you're going to sit there in your cubicle and play this game for 8 hours today and 8 hours tomorrow and 8 hours the next day. And you're probably also taking your save home with you and playing it at home too. And God, when I was a kid, if you had said that was a job, I would have been like, oh my God, that sounds amazing. If you asked me to do that today, get out of here. No, thank you. Especially if it's a game that's not clicking with me. Like, if you had said, Bill, you got to review Metroid Prime 4, I would be so pissed off because, like, I'm playing that game and I was just bored. And you got to finish it because it's your job. That sucks.
Yeah. I feel like there's a lot of like very specific points that almost are mutually exclusive. And I'm not saying that it's a wrong thing to ask for, but you'll often hear people say people who review games should buy the game, finish it before they review it, and also be fans and like the game before they can say anything on it. So there's like these three criteria are things that I think are valuable, because if you paid money for it, then your feelings towards it will be backed by how much money you put onto it. Finishing it means that you've got the complete experience and you're a fan of it, or at least like that genre, means that you've played enough of it that you can give a more complete opinion about it. And I don't disagree, but those things are like asking that of a bunch of reviewers is a tall ask. So I don't know. I think what you get is what you see with a lot of different like takes on reviewers. And some people are like, wow, I actually want this person who doesn't play sports games to play sports games, and he's like, oh, he doesn't like sports games. So I'm like, all right, well, I guess we figured that one out.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? I get it. Sometimes you just want opinions and stuff, but then you want someone that is enthusiastic about X, Y, or Z and really take their take at it when they've had a complete holistic experience and the whole experience. But the timing for that doesn't work out. So then they get punished by all of the algorithms for being late.
Right.
And then, where are you? So yeah, you can make those wishes and desires, but you don't back it up by looking for them.
Yeah. So, okay. You just made me wonder, do you agree that people should have to buy the games that they're reviewing?
No.
Okay. Russ, do you agree with that?
No, I think that it is a factor. Like, I think that if somebody purchases their own thing, I mean, we can parallel this with hardware reviews too, talk about INEO and the poll that I did a couple weeks ago and stuff. It's like, yes, I can see why, buying retail will give you the retail experience, and it also shows you got skin in the game, but I don't think it's necessary. I think a reviewer should be able to separate themselves from that transaction
I agree.
and just review the art itself. It doesn't matter to me if somebody paid for my ticket to a movie at the theater or if I paid for it myself. I'm going to enjoy and review then in my own mind that film based on the merit of that film and that art as its own.
Yeah, to piggyback off what you're saying, Russ, is especially for us, right? I can understand from everyone's point of view because they have a specific viewpoint where they may not even have a single handheld. So when they get one handheld and they paid for it, they have a lot invested into it. It's the one singular thing that they have. And even though we get a bunch of handhelds in for free, we don't really need more.
No.
And getting more is now, it's actually just work. That's all that this is. I've been given an assignment, and that's how I view it. And not for nothing, like, I don't need YouTube for other stuff, but I can just buy things. And I don't mean to say this one way or the other, but like $60 doesn't mean much to me. Like, it's not, that amount does not affect me like it may affect other people. So me having skin in the game, the same amount that you have in it, does not mean the same for me, like, as or other people. So I don't know that. That's why I'm saying I don't think that paying for it matters, and especially with the context of like just getting all this stuff.
I'll give you a little bit of CES insight, right? So each year it gets progressively a little bit more exciting for me just because I get recognized more and, it's kind of fun, I walked there's like a booth for a mini PC manufacturer who emails me all the time and I've never responded just because I got so much work, and they walked up to me and said, "Are you Ross?"
Ross.
I go, that is close enough. Like that, you win, right? You know what I mean? Like most of these Chinese manufacturers don't really know that stuff, right? But they recognized me by face and like came and said that, right? And I thought that was super cool. And we started talking. They're like, why do we review those guys, not me? And I was like, well, it's just what I got a time to work with, And she goes, "I will send you all of these. Every single one of these." And I go, "No, we're not doing that." I'm like, "You can maybe send me one and we'll talk about that." Right. But it was such a funny exchange because I thought about this from a reviewer standpoint. If you're new to the game and you're just trying to kind of, make a name for yourself or make content or whatever, that would have been a dream come true for somebody else.
Right.
Where they're like, holy smokes, they just offered 12 mini PCs. That's a year of coverage that I could do, right? And I just immediately laughed and said, no way. Like you can just send maybe one and we'll talk about it later, And that's kind of where I think a lot of the more established reviewers are. And I get it. People are like, oh, they want to keep the free gravy train coming, so they're not going to give a negative review. And it's like, dude, that's like so far from like what we actually see. Like for me, it's like, oh my goodness, another package.
Right.
That's kind of what we see.
It's such a silly thing to like, oh my goodness, like, oh, woe is me, I'm getting this thing. And I know a lot of people are like really like, when.
Right,
like,
exactly.
Oh, poor you. But I guess I'm the same way as you, Russ. There's like so many things that I'm just like, sorry, I don't have the schedule for this. This is not going to work. There's so many things that I just flat out turn down, and I'm right there with you. So unfortunately, this type of context of where it is, time is our major problem.
Right.
And it's not the stuff. So yeah, it's a thing that you kind of just have to experience to get to understand. But I do totally see it's a very weird conversation for a bunch of us to be talking about from the angle that we're talking about, because it can come off across a way where we don't look great. And I appreciate that.
No, and you're not wrong about that. The thing is like because there's always the comments that say, well, you got it for free, so how can I trust what you're saying? You're just saying it because you want free stuff. But what they don't understand is that it's one more device that does the same exact thing that we have 10 other devices within arm's reach for. We don't need this stuff. We don't necessarily want this stuff. I find this stuff interesting, but my life is not changed by having these things show up at my doorstep, and me paying for it just means that I would look at less things, because I would look at a thing and say, it's not worth it for me to buy that just so that I can talk about it and then set it off to the side. When when I first started doing this stuff. Okay, so just side tangent. The whole reason that my channel is where it is right now is because of the Steam Deck. When Valve announced the Steam Deck, I looked at it and I said, that thing is going to be really cool. I'm going to make a podcast about that thing. That podcast was called On Deck. It was me talking to my friend Lloyd, who lives up in Canada. He has since quit doing podcasts and just, does his regular day job now. But we started that podcast, and it kind of took off. And then, like right before the Steam Deck launched, Valve reached out, and I saw the email, and I said, "That's bull. That's not them. There's no way. I'm gonna take a chance and reply and say, yeah, sure, send it." And then one showed up like the day before launch, and I was like, "Holy cow! It was real." And is it possible that colored my view of that device. It's possible, but at the same time, I also bought one. I bought one. I had already purchased one. I just got one early because they were so limited. Like, it was hard to get them. And so I wasn't excited because suddenly I get to play all these games. I was excited because it gave me the opportunity to make content, because that's my favorite thing to do, is to make these videos and stuff like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I think, you know, I think about this a lot. You know, I didn't mean to derail the whole conversation, but like, for me, it's like, you know, I think about, you know, just the kind of ethics of reviewing and stuff, because there's no perfect way to do it. You know, ideally we would buy all these retail, we'd have all this money to do that, and then we would be like funded by somebody else, maybe like by the crowd, like, you know, crowdfunding and stuff for Patreon or something, you know. But then the timing of it would make it so your content's less relevant because it's coming out after, you know, there's just so many variables to it. So the way I've been approaching it, and I haven't really talked about this publicly, but like so if I get a handheld in and I like it, then I buy it. And then I give away the other one. And so that's kind of the way, my threshold. And so if you see me and I'm still holding on to a review unit of a console that, you know, came out a while ago, it's because I didn't really like it that much, not enough to actually buy it, you know. So like my Odin 3 right here, this is the Odin 3 I purchased. It's a white model here, not the one I reviewed. I sent that over to the developer of Game Native. And that's usually what I'll do, is I'll just give it away to someone in the community, you know, just be like, how can I help the most with this review unit, since now I have my other one? And I'll maybe do a color comparison, and that's it. And so that's kind of the way I've been looking at it, is like this threshold is like, if this device is good enough, will I buy my own? I got 2 Steam Decks, but they're both ones that I purchased myself. I no longer have that review unit. And so that's kind of my approach for it too. Again, nothing's perfect, you know, but as a reviewer, there's a lot for us to kind of parse and kind of think through and figure out our own path for all of it. And we're all doing it a little bit differently. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, I agree with that. Well, let us know what you guys think in the comment section down below that like button. And if you think we're a bunch of entitled dipshits because of all of our free stuff that we get, then you could tell us that too. Carrie.
That's a meat cake.
You're killing me, man. But hey, you guys could have been anywhere for the last almost 2 hours, but you decided to stay here. But before you go anywhere else, you're definitely going to want to go check out youtube.com/thefox and youtube.com/retrogamecore. Make sure that you subscribe to those channels. If you click the subscribe button down below, it's going to take you straight to their channels and let you subscribe. And I am Bill from the NerdNest, so subscribe here before you leave. And if you're listening on your favorite podcasting app, go ahead and give it a review. Let everybody know that this is a great podcast, and hopefully we will see you on the next one. Stay rad, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.